Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's episode of ChatEBC, where we get to know the various members of the European Bridge chapter to start finding out a little bit more about people who we might not have been informed with, just to have a way of finding out some common ground, some interesting stories, and some interesting conversation starters for the next time that we meet at a summit. So today's guest I've known for quite some time. We've known each other for many years through EO, not even before we were in Bridge chapter together. We are also involved in the regional council together currently. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce you all to Eduard Brink. Lecker is good. How do I say hello again? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. How are you? Thanks for joining.
I could take a lekker from you, Stephen.
Okay,
No
awesome.
no
Lekker.
problem. I can exactly pinpoint the moment that I first met you.
Okay, this is something that comes up in your trauma nightmares, is it?
You made a pretty strong impression. There was at GLC in Toronto, and you gave a speech, and you were at that time, in my eyes, you were the epitome of a seasoned EOer, and I was in awe with talking to a large crowd like that, and with that ease. And well, you haven't lost that touch. You still move pretty smooth in crowds, but yeah, that was the first time. I think.
Well,
Was
they made the
17?
mistake of giving an Irishman a microphone. So
No, you're doing pretty good.
So, Eduard, tell us about yourself. Where are you? I mean, I know where you are. Most people will probably be able to tell from me saying lekker and from your accent where you're from. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you? What's your setup at the moment?
I am at the office, which is in Utrecht. It's the middle of the Netherlands. I live quite nearby with my wife, Evelien, who's my, I would say, I was about to say high school lover, but it wasn't that much later. It was in my second year in university that I already met her, and I've been with her forever, ever since. And my kids moved out. I have two kids. They are both in university. They are both living in Rotterdam. And I live in a place called Zeist, and it's a nice commute because I enjoy taking my bike and go when I'm not having any appointments outside the office. I'd like to go here by bike.
That's actually so. I've only been in the Netherlands twice, both times in Amsterdam for EO stuff, and it was something that struck me. I mean, there is this stereotype of the Dutchies and their bikes. And I always thought, well, the weather has to be kind of similar to Ireland. Like, do people still, like in Ireland, we don't cycle because of the weather. But I've been in Amsterdam in particular when the weather's been bad and people are still on their bikes more so than in their cars. It was impressive.
The weather isn't that bad. I used to drive a convertible for a couple of years, and I was surprised how many days I could put the top down. So it's we have we like to complain about the rain, especially about the rain, but it's in real life it's not that bad. So unless I see there's a little shower predicted in the times I will be on my bike, I would still go even on a rainy day.
Okay.
And yes, sometimes I'm a bit optimistic and I get soaked, but yeah, that's life.
So tell us a little bit about your business. Now, you've two quite different businesses at the moment, but tell us about your original business to start off with, which is very creative. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've talked about before in this one. So
I have a lighting business that I started, I think I was first involved in 97. And it started out with my brother wanting to buy a company in lighting, and I decided to help him because he was still living abroad. And I think 3 months in, we agreed that it was better for me to buy this company, and it was straight out of university. So I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've never had a real job. Yeah, that's pretty uncommon, I guess. And I wouldn't wish something for my kids to straight away be an entrepreneur and pay for your own mistakes. But anyway, so that's how I ended up in lighting. It was in Belgium. It was in retail. And I gone through some major changes in that. And I am now in the field of project lighting. And we have a lighting design studio where we do quite high-end stuff. And for the lighting, that a typical project would be an office building or a university or an hospital. And then the
So
more more decorative stuff.
the lighting design stuff is I've seen some of the designs that you guys have created, and some of them are like really breathtaking, spectacular, huge pieces. But I'm guessing that's not what you started off doing. And like when you're saying retail, you were I don't know, is it you were buying and selling other people's lights to the general
No,
public, or how did you
no.
start?
I started out indeed with one store and one guy on the road that was selling in wholesale. Then I came across the most famous interior designer in the Netherlands, who had his own TV show and is a real celebrity. And he had expansion plans for 3 different locations. So I was a part of that expansion. Um, and that opened many doors. That meant that I could get any brand that I wanted, because everybody wanted to be a part of this success
Hmm.
story. Another thing, I was in the year 2000. Anybody who could write his or her name on a computer was able to sell websites. So that's what I did as well. So I had a
Okay.
website business and a lighting business, and the idea was to have even more businesses together. A friend of mine and I started this, and we were very unrealistic and conquering the world. But then the internet
But that's the
bubble.
only way that you can get into these
Yeah,
things, is to be unrealistic and then and then have the world beat you
why
into
not?
shape.
Let's deal with the pieces later. So I think it's
Yeah.
not a bad way to start exploring, because we had a tremendous good time, and learned a lot. But that helped me. I am quite good of able to communicate to a programmer what I wanted. So that led to opening the first store online in lighting in 2003, which was quite early.
That was very early. Yeah.
Yeah, very, yeah, indeed. Yeah. Um, and that opened tons of unforeseen opportunities, because I moved away from retail to more projects, because there were a lot of architects and installation companies that visited the website. And then now I was talking to an architect about a hospital. There wasn't a place where you could look for blue wall lights. You can go to the websites that are available back then were just, you could go to a brand and browse through their catalog online, or browse through the categories, but you could not make a comparison between brands and look for specific metrics. So that opened up a completely new field. I abandoned retail for e-tail, and in 2018 I made another major shift, and that's I abandoned the focus on e-tail, also e-tail for private clients, because
For
we have this
B2C.
strict, yeah, B2C. We have a strict law where anybody can return anything, no questions asked. So my inventory was every month I would get back about 10,000 euros worth of lighting that was practically unsellable. So there was horrible times, and I needed to cut that business, because it was making me sick, and the company as well. So that was yeah. Can talk a little bit later about that period. One thing that's been very interesting to open and also to close later was a venture in Singapore. I had a business in Singapore for 4 years, and that was really cool. That was also an example for let's do this, let's make this happen, and be
And was
bold.
that in lighting as well, or was that in something
Yeah.
completely different?
Brink Light Asia in Kyong Saik Road in Chinatown, which was really cool. The
Oh.
truth was that I really like Singaporean food, and now I could travel there at least 4 times per year. But no, at first we wanted to do lighting design. That I changed that because I underestimated how fierce the competition was. And later on, I started to work with a local, and we did more of the projects there. But when that was in the time when the business in the Netherlands needed a lot of attention, at the same time when I closed down the B2C. So that was fun. It tells you a little bit about me as well. I love opening stuff, starting new stuff. I'm not very good at getting rid of them and quitting stuff, but
Yeah.
I've learned to come to terms with that.
So then, if I get the timeline right, so 2003 we had the start of the retail, the e-commerce stuff. 20, and then you moved completely into the e-commerce stuff in 2018. No, you got out of everything in 2018, or you
No. So
you got out of the
we
retail
still
stuff in
we
20.
still online. I have 17,000 products online, which generates a lot of requests from all over the world. But it's not focused on B2C anymore. So now we just test the waters. Hey, what is it that you really need? Like 15 minutes before this call, I was answering an electrician from Ireland who asked about some Italian stuff. So yeah, clients can come from
So
anywhere.
you
But
have what did you say? 17,000 SKUs.
yeah, I have
Wow.
60,000 SKUs and 17,000 online. Yeah.
Wow.
And those
Okay.
grew organically. So nearly, I would say 90% of
Yeah,
those SKUs
I mean,
came
weeds and
from,
fungus can grow organically as well, and they can overrun you too. But 60,000
yeah,
SKUs, oh my god!
yeah, yeah. It's a full-time job to manage these actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine. But so you're now in more the B2B side, the more dealing with the electricians and the account or the
I call them B2P, business to professional, because B2B, I have B2B clients
okay,
as well, and professionals are not the end user. So
okay,
they are in there for because of their profession, but they have a certain different demands than B2B
hmm,
people do. And B2B I
yeah,
do as well. Yeah, now we're working on Atlassian software headquarters for Europe in Amsterdam. So
cool.
that's yeah. Um,
So then, when you got out of the e-retail directly to the consumer, and you were sitting around in COVID, and you were thinking, okay, I'm a bit bored now. I have some free time. You decided to set up something new, which I think probably a lot of us know a little bit more about in the day to day because you've done a lot of stuff for EO with this new business. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah. So I was very intrigued with the tsunami of new information around artificial intelligence, and having lived through a number of these big waves, I could see this one as the big one. I mean, I saw e-commerce pop up, and the introduction of the iPhone was pretty major, and steps like this. But this one is really a game changer. So I'm completely intrigued how this is going to change the world. And then they decided the best part to stay informed is to maybe share this hunger for information with other entrepreneurs, and that's why Robert, my best friend, also an EOer, and I started this platform called IPO Network, where we bring news and where we do webinars and do events around AI. And it's you call it a business, but it's not
The
paying any bills.
project.
It's taking a lot of time, and it's I could see it grow into something, and it's extremely nice to do. Yeah, so I like doing that, and the contacts it bring me.
Hmm.
Started recording a podcast with our very own David.
I was going to get onto that in a minute, yeah,
Yeah,
because I think you've got the sticker there on the microphone.
yeah. This is exactly the same place where I do the podcast normally, or the little studio next to it. I was too lazy to fire it up.
So actually, before I get onto the love not fear stuff, I wanted to talk about. So I mean, you say it's not a business; it's a project, and it's a fun thing that's not paying bills. But I've seen the virtual tour of the studio that you and Robert built, and the hardware, and the amount of time and effort and thought that went into making that happen. I've obviously seen the two now summits that
Yeah,
you've put on, the
yeah. We
virtual
did
summits.
two summits. Yeah,
And I've seen the two of them, and like the setup is really professional. Like you and I are talking on an online tool to be able to share these things, and it's fun, and like it's nice and easy to be able to run this. But I mean, the degree. How many cameras? I think it's 4 cameras and lighting, and you can
Yeah.
have like 4 people in the studio, 1 person on Zoom, and 1 person somewhere. Like
Yeah.
your setup is just
They,
like
the
Joe
first
Rogan
one
has nothing
was
on you
in
guys.
the first one was in Robert's studio. He had a company. He sold the company, but he had a company where he had his own studio. So
Hmm.
the first one was in his own studio, and that was a pretty serious setup. And the second one we did earlier this year was out of Erasmus University, and I was completely blown away. They basically have a professional TV studio at their campus. I was talking to a guy and talking about the cameras. He said, "Yeah, the body alone is 100,000 euros, but that's not with the lens. You don't doesn't come with a lens yet." And so I was counting. Okay, there's 5 of them here, so that's some serious gear
Wow.
that
Okay.
we have used so far. And yeah, I hope yeah, it was pretty professional, and it's fun to do. I'm not a trained presenter, but to be able to create a platform and having that many people participate was a game changer. Yeah, it's really cool. The first time we had 790 EOers
Hmm.
register for that, and there was literally around all the whole world. And I think there were only about 23 chapters missing altogether, and for the rest we had participants from every chapter of EO to listen in. So the timing was apparently quite good,
Wow.
and
Very good.
there was a booster. Yeah.
But you say that you're not trained as a presenter, but I mean you've had 2 very successful summits. I've seen you standing up in front of regional council and in front of the chapter, and being able to share ideas and share concepts. And you have this fantastic podcast that you mentioned earlier on, that you set up with David, the Love Not Fear.
They are quite linked together, because the first time I stood in front of a big group, that was in yeah, it was not that long ago. It was in Cape Town at Stellenbosch University, and that basically accepting the invitation to speak as an entrepreneur, not on entrepreneurship, but I spoke on the topic of love not fear, was also had to do with what's the worst that can happen. Why not get this experience and try to have some fun with it and play with it? I think the people are limiting themselves and are living in this prison that they created for themselves. And I think there's the older I get, the more room I see to make a life by design, and not be limited by restrictions that crept that we made our own during the last during basically from the first year, from your first memory. And that's what I'd like to see. And doing the podcast with David is an exploration to learn more. I find it hugely interesting how you can decide in the morning that a day will be a success or not. Your
Hmm.
mindset is incredibly powerful, and things like power of habits, building on small habits. I find that stuff intensely interesting. And yeah, doing the podcast is an exploration around the topic, and things will come from that. Yeah.
Hmm. So things will come from that. I mean, I love the idea you're doing things that you're personally passionate in. We learned that your love of Singaporean food led you to start a new venture halfway around the world. So it makes absolute sense to me that like the stuff that you're interested in, like artificial intelligence and the love not fear, and growing, lead to these things that, as you say, have these opportunities that may not even have materialized yet, but they're putting you on a path to be able to do some really interesting things.
Yeah.
So we're now up to the bespoke lighting, the custom lighting bits for the B2P stuff, the selling of B2B, like the general 60,000 SKUs. We've got the AI platform project, and with
Yeah.
it's not just those 2 summits. You also have lots of webinars and lots of other stuff around that. And then you also have the Love Not Fear. But you have another thing, as if that wasn't enough for you to be spending your time doing. You have another project, and I think it's you and Robert do this as well. Is that right? The
Yeah.
barbecues?
Robert is involved, and another friend who's not in EO. We
Not an EO
we,
yet.
we
Sorry.
He could be. He's an architect. He's working for himself. Basically, he's an entrepreneur. Ah,
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we are quite passionate about cooking an open fire. I think the three of us all together own about, I would say, easily 14 barbecues, and from seven different models. Basically, from these tiny Japanese one that run on a special type of coal. They get really intense heat, up to grills. I don't know if you know what an ophir is, like a big ring that you cook on. It's like a plancha. We build an open fire in the middle. Anyway, we like to cook on open fire. And we were always asked, "Hey, can you help me?" And we have this little party going on, or at the my kids were playing hockey at the local hockey club. They said, "Could you do a barbecue?" And then we would find ourselves doing a barbecue for 460 people. That is officially our record. I say, hey, we got to stop this. We have to align this, because we're getting too many requests, and it's starting to look like work. And I feel like the underpaid caterer. So we decided to make a charity out of it, and we now do charity events where we typically around 50 people, where we cook for about 50 people, and we have some sponsors, so we don't have to spend any money to get the ingredients, and everything is sponsored. We have great sponsors in hardware and in food, and so we do these events, and all the money goes to mostly charities that are related to cancer with children. So we have
Okay.
two, yeah. But sometimes it comes up that you say, "Hey, we're doing a charity for this and this cause. Are you interested?" And so we'll speak about it, and 9 out of 10 times the answer will be yes. We can do that as well. Yeah. So it's a nice way to give a little bit back, and we train ourselves. The summer is very often also for collecting ideas. I remember a couple of years ago I went to Portugal, and I had a couple of amazing pieces of octopus, and then we try to make it our own and see, okay, can we turn it into a dish, and then we have another notch on our stick that we can present or cook. So that's a fun way to stay on top of the game, and it's a challenge also, and it's a huge fun. We do a lot of 21 dinners now. I don't know if that's a big thing in Ireland.
21st birthday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's gone way out of hand. They're now like complete marriages. The events are as big as a marriage almost. It's
Yeah.
it's getting crazy, but that's okay. Yeah.
So we have the lighting, the custom lighting, the B2P, the B2B. We have the AI stuff. We have the Love Not Fear. We have the barbecues. Okay, the kids have. You said the kids have finished. They're not in the house anymore, so you have some free
It's
time.
finished.
But even
Yeah.
with all of that, and I mean, that sounds like an awful lot to have on your plate, you're also very active in the Netherlands, the Dutch chapter of EO. You're on
No.
the regional council as a multifunctional director looking after
Yep.
all kinds of things within Europe.
Yeah.
And you're traveling every quarter for the summits for
Yeah.
EBC.
I am in a plane every month for EO. So 4 times. Last year was 11 times. So not exactly, but yes, I'm the current growth director for the Europe region, and that's a lot of work. Fortunately, I have great experts that help. So I just get a lot of support, and the work is actually done by these experts. But that's very interesting. EO has given me a lot. And when I was a member, basically in my second year, I already was on the Dutch board, and I've ever been on the path of leadership ever since. I'm an
Uh-huh.
8-year member now. At one time, I was on I think when it was 3 rounds on the Dutch board, I went to take a look at the European EO. I became membership expert, then member engagement expert, and I'm quite knowledgeable on the trifecta topic.
Hmm.
Anybody who doesn't know what trifecta is, it's the collaboration between membership, member engagement, and forum. So that's why I'm a trainer for that, and yeah, I meet amazing people, and I think also with the love not fear. I mean, bouncing ideas of people from so many cultures.
Sorry,
I feel
I
so
forgot? Did I
privileged.
forget Love Not Fear a second ago when I was listing off? My goodness, I'm so sorry. I forgot Love Not Fear when I was listing off the number of things you were doing as well.
No, yeah, that's so yeah. That's we can elaborate a little bit on that, because yeah, I'm investing a lot of time in that. It doesn't feel like I'm working on the topic love not fear. It feels like exploring an idea for myself, but I think there's a huge benefit. So now I'm looking, okay, what is it that what is the secret sauce? What is the actually point I would like to make? What is something that you could actually start investigating in yourself? And if I can inspire other people with that, that would be amazing. But also the guest podcast I've had so far with amazing speakers. I feel I'm so privileged that they I get to speak to the people and bring me another insight and learn from that. The latest speaker is actually a Dutch EO member, and he is suffering from a brain tumor, which we all know how that's going to end. But to talk about with him about how it changed his life and his perspective, I feel very privileged, and that was a tough one to do, but very rewarding. Yeah,
Wow. And just out of curiosity, is that obviously it's in English if it's in the Love Not Fear podcast? So
yeah,
that's
that's in English. Yeah, it
cool.
it was released 2-3 days ago. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So that's that.
So with all of that stuff, all of these different, I mean, balls that you're juggling, what's on your mind at the moment? Now, obviously, we're not talking about the 5% because this
Yeah,
is a public video and stuff. But
yeah. Let
what's
me,
what's top of your mind at the moment?
one thing I would like to stress is that I'm very fortunate with my family situation. I have a lovely wife who has a career of her own, has a group of friends. I can travel. She doesn't mind me being away. Uh, yeah, on all these trips. My kids are out of the house and they are doing great. So I feel very privileged that I have so much power over my own time. So that's something I want to stress, because I remember what it was when having small kids. You could only
Hmm.
dream of this freedom I experience right now. So that's one thing. What is on my mind is I've after a long struggle of 4 years to become a B Corp. I was my company was certified as a B Corp a couple of months ago, and that kind of
Congratulations.
froze me. So now we made it didn't feel like a finish to me. It feels like, okay, it's like a new start. What is it that I'm going
Hmm.
to change in the approach to clients? What are the projects I am enthusiastic about? So I feel another drastic momentum where I'm going to pursue a different type of clientele and be involved in a different part of the lighting business. We are currently dealing with a lot of installation companies that do not treat us as good as I would have liked, to put it politely. So they
Okay.
basically, you are one of we chose you as a supplier, but no matter what you did, we can tomorrow we can have you replaced by somebody else and probably
Hmm.
cheaper. So shut up. And it's kind of getting under my skin after all these years. So that's I'm bored of that, and I'm engaging in a different direction. And yeah, this is a cool project I'm doing right now. It's a building that's been vacant for 30 years, and um, it's going to be repurposed, and there's a part of it that will be extended to that. And we agreed with the installation company and the owner of the building, who's also an architect. So the owner of the building is the architect, that we're not going to use anything that was specially produced for these 4,000 square meters. So we're going to do everything with recycled, repurposed. Um, I came up with the name of warehouse hunting. So I'm going to hunt in warehouse to see where I can find suitable materials, maybe alter them a little bit. But we've taken up the challenge to do 4,000 square meters of pretty high standard property without buying anything new. Let's see how that goes.
Sorry, what is that? Is that going to be residential or is it going to be warehouse? What is it going to be?
It's 19 hotel rooms. It is about 8 office spaces for multi-tenant. So there is going to be 4 or 5 companies are going to be part of that. There's going to be an auditorium. There's going to a restaurant, bar, you name it.
Wow, and that's in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's in the Netherlands. Yeah, it's an old. The location is amazing, and the building is now in the hands of the army. So the army sold it under the condition that it would be really something else than commercial and clad in marble. So this is something that I've never done before. Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
It is. Yeah.
So you mentioned like there's you've been in EO for, I think you said 8 years. Is that right? You've been
8 years. Yeah.
a member for 8 years, and you've been on the path of leadership ever since. So you've been in the local chapter. You've been in EBC. What was it about EBC that was so appealing to you?
First of all, EBC was, when I joined, it was the first moment that EBF became ABC. So
Okay.
the European Bridge Forum turned into a chapter. So there were no rules how to do that. Basically, we invented the wheel. Okay, now we are a chapter, and that it went from a forum of 8 people, and they invited 8 people, and now they were 16. So they for the first time they had to split up in 2 forums. And being in this, I've been in the same forum in the Netherlands for my entire EO period. I decided, I knew that I really connected with the international part of EO, and I found it very interesting to have this cultural element as well. So I was like, okay, I want to shape this part. So I've been on the EBC board for 2 years as a membership chair. Getting to know the new members firsthand and handpick them. I've kept a couple of people out. Not many people know that, but there would have been some less suitable candidates,
Well,
maybe. Anyway,
I'm glad you weren't able to spend too much time looking at my application. That's fine.
No comment. The bribe did the work. Trust the bribe.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was saying, what did EBC? So for me, the format of being less frequent but more intense and more deep works better, because I found at the end I found myself just winging it. I would go to a forum meeting, badly prepared, making a phone call in between in the breaks. So I was being there, and I was kind of at the moment that I could predict what the comments and the feedback on certain cases were going to be from those members. So I think it's quite healthy to change forum once in a while. There's a lot of that going on in EBC. And I really was so passionate that I immediately, my first one was in Poland, and I immediately said, hey, I'd like to help shape this thing so I can have an influence, because I was already giving a lot of time to EO, and this was something that I see EBC as something I consume. So I bring a lot of my time. It's easily 1 day per week I spend on EO. So let that sink in. So this is the EBC is with the product I want to help shape, because it felt like this is mine. This is for me. If that answers your question.
That's absolutely makes perfect sense.
And I still feel like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there definitely is something special about EBC. I mean, I've talked about it with every guest so far, and we talk about it at every summit. And are you going to be in? This is going to date the video very quickly, but are you going to be in Ljubljana next week?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'll see you on Wednesday. So we've got. So this video probably won't come out before we're in Ljubljana, so because it has to be edited and put together. But so now I have 5 just random questions. I have a random question generator. Ask you 5 rapid fire questions, just whatever is the first thing that comes into your head. Yeah, okay. Ready? Perfect. So the first one is, what's something you're currently learning about?
That has to do around love, not fear. So exploring how the mind works, and really exploring if I can decide that something major is going to happen. And that's so that today, literally, I woke up and I said, okay, something major is going to happen. It did not today, but it put me in a mood that I was open, and I did some extra calls and some extra work to make that happen. So yeah, we're
Well,
currently
the day's
learning
not
about
over.
creating your own happiness.
Very good. Next question. This is interesting. What's your favorite thing about your current job? So I will let you choose between one of the 17 jobs that we've discussed.
I still like transferring knowledge about what can happen to a space when you alter the light, and I can still get enthusiastic when I talk about what can happen with the space and how we can improve a room. I still get when I get a new file for a new project. I'm still, before opening it, I'm a little excited. So yeah, that's
Very
something.
cool. Third question. What's one change you'd like to make in your life?
Saying no more.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you why, because you'll just say no and we'll move on. That's fine. That's perfect. So fourth question. Who's been the most influential person in your life?
Ooh. I think I would have to say my father. He passed away 17 years already, so it's a long time. He taught me a lot. I would say 95% was good, but also what I didn't copy off of him. He was always working at the expense of a lot. He was very successful, but I remember him being very restless. So
very good. And then the final question, an easy one. What's your favorite season and why?
It's hard to choose because I really love the winters in the mountains, but I also love the sea. I'm a scuba diver. I love the underwater world, and I think this is the place I feel happiest in life. So I associate that with sun and summer.
Okay, very good. So the final question for me to ask you was asked by Tom Kolokithas, who was the last guest on the last ChatEBC. And this is a question I found it took me a minute to understand it when he was asking me the question. And when we're finished recording, I'll get your question for the next guest. But this question for you is, now that space exploration is not just on TV anymore, it's more real. If you were given the opportunity, would you choose to travel to orbit, like the International Space Station? Would you choose to travel to the moon, or would you choose to travel to Mars, understanding that there's more danger or longer duration or whatever between those three different destinations? What would be your choice?
Definitely not Mars. Way too long, and yeah. The International Space Station sounds very cool. Landing on the moon would be pretty epic, but I would go to the International Space Station and spend some time there. It sounds pretty amazing. So I would go for A, Space Station.
Perfect. The space station. Very cool. Well, look, Edward, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, this has given people a little bit more insight into you, what you've been up to, and also gives people more of an opportunity to find something in common and be able to strike up a conversation at a lunch or a dinner or something else while we are at a summit together.
Cool. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks a million, and see you in Ljubljana.
See you.